I'm taking back the crown. I'm all dressed up and naked. I see what's mine and take it. Keepers, losers, reapers. Oh yeah, the crown. So close I can taste it. I see what's mine and take it. Keepers, losers, reapers. Oh yeah.
Yo, what is up, my fellow anime and Brony fans alike? Here for the last time before we wrap up the season. But of course I will do the overview way later after that. For the last time though, as the final review of the year though, My Little Pony Season 7 Episode 25 and 26, the season 7 finale of My Little Pony Friendship's Magic. Alright. Now, ladies. Yeah. Okay, sorry. So, this season finale right here. Excuse me. Let's just talk about what this whole finale is about first, and then I'll give my overall thoughts, review, etc. Holy shit, man. Oh, man. Okay. So, basically, the plot to this episode of the finale is it takes off right now. This is the smart thing that I loved that the writers did. They actually took episode 24's ending with the book that Sunburst actually had and connected that to the finale because Sunburst and company are in that book. So that was great. I love the way they actually did that in ties with this. Then we move on to actually the episode plot in general. So while Sunburst was actually telling the story of what happened with the Pony of Shadows, Celestia and Luna pretty much, is informed by that. And what happens is that the Pony of Shadows wasn't truly defeated. He was just like sealed up for the time being. And the problem is that not Starlight. Oh god. Dude. Star Swirl, my bad. Because there's a lot of stars around. But Star Swirl, my main man, like Goldie, right? The ultimate, the main man, finally being revealed in the series. Now that was a plus. Oh man, that was a huge game changer to the series. But now beforehand though. So what happens is that when Sunburst actually explains to Celestia on what was going on, pretty much, so she was wondering too that this means that the Pony of Shadows wasn't truly defeated after all. So it kind of looks like he had to get the main 6 in order to get the ancient relics of those particular ponies, of the the legendary ponies. Like of course we have which is of course Mage Metalbrook, Flash Magnus, Mistmane, Rockhoof, Somnambula, and of course Star Swirl the Bearded. Okay, so we got all of the 6 legendary ponies. We got them all right here, and basically they had to get them in order to revive them and being sealed up away before they were actually trying to seal the Pony of Shadows. So they basically try to actually find their actual ancient weapons to actually find a way to resurrect them back from their actual from what they were sealed. But of course that doesn't really go as according to plan, because what happens is not only that the pillars come back, but also does the Pony of Shadows. And with that, he is still actually, he's still pretty much as powerful as he was back in the day, now that he's back in present time absorbing more darkness. So that right there leads to something that was incredible. And now let's talk about the way they set this episode up first. With episode 25, I really did love the way how they set the episode up by basically, exploring all these locations, exploring all these different locations onto where these ancient relics were hid. Of course, we already know about Somnambula, which we've already know about that one, and of course, we knew about Mage Metalbrook, which was obvious because we knew that from Fluttershy's adventure with Twilight, and then of course with Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie, we pretty much knew about that. But Rockhoof though was a different location, and so was Mistmane. So pretty much with Mage Metalbrook, as we all know, Fluttershy had to go back with the healing mask in order to actually, convince the bees to get the, the item that she needed. Which was which she needed, because she didn't have the mask. Only her, her brother or cousin, I think it was, or something like that, had the mask still. And because of that, Fluttershy, because he was, now he actually trusts in Fluttershy to give the, the actual mask to. So that was pretty easy. Then when it comes to Flash Magnus, this is the one I really loved a lot, because I really did like the way how Spike was also involved in this episode as well, especially the way how he teamed up with Rainbow Dash in order to actually beat what's his face, Garble, I think his name was. Yeah, that dragon. Yeah, fuck him. So basically they had to beat him in this like lava rock sliding race thing. And honestly though, it was really great teamwork to see from Rainbow Dash and Spike. That was really cool. That was actually one of my favorite moments to see, was those two working together to get the helmet that they actually need, the ancient helmet that they needed from Flash Magnus. Then of course Miss Main, there was a hidden, like an actual there was a garden, and they needed that particular item, to get everything beautiful and whatnot. Like, so, there's a garden there, which isn't really looking all that great, except for some ponies who still have that magic ability to actually still make everything. But of course the village is in shambles because there's not really enough magic to make the place look great again. But of course Rarity takes care of that, and they think that she is the next generation of Miss Main, which in reality is pretty true. You can kind of obviously tell that she is like the next generation of Miss Main. Now Rockhoof though was pretty much found in like this like ancient like Indiana Jones like temple. That was another cool one I did like though. That whole Indiana Jones looking temple thing is where the thing was hidden, and also the way that she saved those like villagers and stuff like that. So that was actually pretty cool too, like the way she proved her strength. That was actually really cool as well. Then of course some of Mabula's was pretty easy though, because it was technically just like where that lava slime place was or whatever it was, and there was something like drained in there, so they had to like drain out the entire like the pool, whatever the hell it was, the acid slime thing, and they actually got the item. And then finally we had Star Swirl. Oh baby. So after they finally did that and they were able to resurrect the pillars, apparently that's what happened in the first episode. So the way everything was set up in the first episode, like I mentioned about the Shadow Pony coming back, that stuff was very, very cool. I really did like how the main six actually got together to actually go to all these different kinds of locations, and just the way they had to like gather them. It didn't really feel like too slow or too rushed, or whatever, etc. So it didn't really feel like it was too slow or it was too rushed or anything. But even Starlight tried to burn Twilight. It's like, dude, you're making a huge mistake by actually resurrecting Star Swirl. You do realize this could be trouble if everything is unsealed, like them, including shutting up paddles. It's gonna be on your hooves, let's just say that. And basically that's exactly what happened. So now Twilight feels totally responsible now for exactly what's going on. So now it's up to the main six, and with the help of the pillars, to actually defeat this Pony of Shadows. So that's pretty much the first half of the episode right there. And I gotta say, for a whole setup episode, it moved along quite well. I didn't feel like the pacing, was dragged out or anything like that, etc, etc, etc. Like, I thought it was actually really, really great. The first half of this episode was actually really great. I loved the setup. I loved the pacing. The pacing for this episode was on point as well. The pacing was on point. I felt like nothing was too fast or too slow, etc, etc. Like, none of that I feel as if wasn't like really too slow or too fast or whatever. So I will say this: when it comes to the pacing, it was very well done, and it really does set up on what's yet to come. Yeah, exactly, on what's yet to come, to actually move on to the second half of the finale. So the first half of the episode, I'm gonna give that one a 4.5 out of 5, maybe like to a great or great plus. Due to the fact that, well, I mean, don't get me wrong, while everything was just morely set up, the setup though was actually pretty great. Granted, the only thing was that it was just lots of setup and everything for things to come. The setup though was actually mad hype. Even though it had no action in it, it was mainly setup, it was still hype. So I will give that one a 4.5 out of 5. I mean, I think the only thing I would say though is pretty much, well, let's see. The reason why it's not really like a perfect 5 is because there wasn't like, well, actually no, because well, the ending was a pretty nice payoff. Like I really did like, you know, like the way it ended up, like, you know, like, well, actually, yeah, well, because technically there were certain parts here and there where it felt like, you know, there wasn't really too much excitement going on, but other than that, you know what, yeah, 4.5, I go with that, because there were certain parts that weren't really too exciting, while the rest of the pacing was really great, and that was fine. It was just that I guess there were certain parts I didn't really care for about the first half, though. But then when we get to the second half of this episode, when we get to the second half of this episode right here, the second half to this episode, holy shit, the second half to this episode, I will say, wow. Okay, so when we get to the second half, we have, of course, you know, Twilight and the gang trying to figure out how to seal up, you know. Okay, here's the biggest thing that I loved about this episode. The sirens are canon. Yeah, the sirens are canon. When we saw the flashback to the sirens actually hypnotizing the actual ponies and taking over control with their high, powerful singing voices, it was actually really cool to see them in the actual show. That's the bizarre part. We all knew they existed, but we didn't think that the Equestria Girls universe and this universe would combine, but we were wrong. Bitch, we were motherfucking wrong. What happened here? We got the sirens actually confirmed in the actual show from the past. Oh, man. Oh, my God. That part had me flipping out. Like, oh, my God. So, not only that, though. Not only that, but the way they actually, you know, like, the fights were actually pretty cool, too. Like, I really did like the way how they actually had to protect themselves. Yeah, like, the fight scenes are really cool. Like, I really did like how most of the legendary pillars, they actually used some of their magic. And then, of course, we had Twilight using her defensive spells. That shit was really cool. And the Shadow of Ponies was really cool. I love his design. I absolutely love the transformation sequences that he actually did to fight off against the main 6. That was actually really cool. And especially what was really interesting and really cool was the fact that the elements of harmony, now these elements of harmonies are much different compared to the very original elements of harmonies that they were formed back in the day from the original 6 pillars from ancient thousands of years ago, which with those I believe were they were strength, beauty, strength, beauty, courage, oh crap, what were the other? Oh, I'm sorry, it was hope, strength, beauty, fuck, okay, so hope, strength, beauty, healing. I know sorcery was the last one, I believe, and whatever, I forgot the last one, but you pretty much get what I mean. They're basically reflections of their old elements of harmony, and it pretty much came from them pretty much. So what happens is that when Starlight actually shows them the map, when Star Swirl uses magic, which that was impressive. Yo, just seeing this dude do some impressive OP magic just gave me a hard on, like straight up it did. So when that happened, we see this entire map, and it's the tree, of course, and it's based on the tree of elements of harmony. But what happens is that Star Swirl wants to get rid of those elements because he figures that without those, they'll be able to seal up the Pony of Shadows for good. But in reality, the world of Equestria won't be the same again, and the whole entire Equestria would be pretty much destroyed. So rather, even though they defeat the Pony of Shadows, Equestria as we know it will never be the same again, with the elements of harmony pretty much gone. Like, the entire Equestria will be totally gone, because Equestria will just suffer massively, and it will never be the same again, and life as we know it will really suck. So basically, Star Swirl's like, no, I have to do this, blah, 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 because this is what happens when you betray the ultimate pillars, you pay the price. And that's exactly what happened. But of course, that didn't really happen with him, on his side of the story once we actually get to the actual Pony of Shadows. So Twilight is trying to find a way to do it without having a destructive portal to actually get rid of the elements of harmony altogether, to actually get rid of the Pony of Shadows. So she's trying and she can't really find anything, and Star Swirl just doesn't really know about the meaning of friendship. He thinks that solving your problems will just be as simple as, oh, if you take out this one thing, then everything will be fine. But in reality, you gotta think of the consequences. See, Star Swirl didn't really know much about friendship, so he doesn't know that there'll be casualties and consequences along the way. So it made sense for Twilight, and you know, it really did suck to see Twilight hurt, to see like her mentor, the one that she was inspired to do magic from the very beginning since childhood, is acting like a complete asshole, which we can't really, you know, you can't really blame the guy. It's been over thousands of years since like friendship was a thing, so of course he's not going to really be familiar. His own pride and his own stubbornness is what what's his name, Stygang, that was his name, Stygan, I think that was his name, yeah, the one that was actually being controlled by the darkness, on some Blackbeard shit from One Piece. So what happens is that pretty much is that we heard exactly what happened from the actual Pillars' tale, that Stygon they was actually going to betray the Pillars. And what happens is that Stygon actually stole the ancient objects of the Pillars. And what happens is that he was going to use their magic in order to become like the ultimate like powerful pony wizard or whatever. But in reality, he wanted them to respect him because he knew about all these ways to actually defeat these beasts without going through such harsh repercussions. So that was basically what he really wanted to do as that spell. But as soon as then we know that his own friends actually betrayed him and didn't even try to help him. Instead, they ignored him, they banished him, and for that, he wanted revenge and actually let the darkness of a dark magic actually take over him and became the Pony of Shadows for what he was. So what happens is that Twilight wants to find a way to actually convert him without losing the elements, because without that, EQUESTRIA will never be the same. It could suffer, I don't know about casualties, but it will never be the same way again. Let's just put it that way. So what happens is that they will do whatever they can in order to actually find certain places where the Shadow Pony won't try to take any darkness, because Star Swirl creates all these different kinds of portals to where the darkness will be there and he'll be able to absorb it. So that's pretty much what they're trying to do and gather on where he'll be next and where he'll finally be located enough to find his real location in order to convert him without worrying about losing the elements of harmony. So that's exactly what happens. And I really do love the whole exploration that we've been going through. Like all the traveling like outside of Equestria was the best part about this finale. Like instead of just like being the whole thing in Equestria, like it's all out of Equestria. Different locations at the wazoo, even though one was already Manhattan, which we've already known about. But granted though, it was still very nice to actually be out of Equestria, like in an actual venture. So that was actually really cool. I really loved that a lot when it comes to this season finale. Not only that, but the action we got in this episode was pretty intense. And the way you could just feel like because nobody believed in him, and people were like, well, just because this dude doesn't have magic doesn't mean to become an Essus. This dude can actually become a pretty powerful ally. You know, he could be very, very helpful. But of course, they didn't believe him. They thought, he was an outcast. They pretty much, treat him like shit because obviously, well, he had no powers to convert, only just research. So what happens is that's the reason why. But at the very end, Twilight converts the Pony of Shadows, like when they finally gather most of the elements of harmony once again to actually go up against the Pony of the Shadows once they actually do that. So with that in mind, they were able to actually... So when it comes to actually converting the Pony of Shadows at the very end, the very last scene of the episode, what I think overall, I thought the very last scene of the episode was actually very, very deep. It was very dark. Like, I have to admit that. It was very dark, but at the same time, it relates so much when you can just let, when you're actually... Because that's a very powerful life lesson, especially because, like, even though a lot of people may disagree, there are a lot of people that say, like, oh, here we go, it's talk no jutsu, that's the reason why he believed in the light, but in reality, that wasn't really the case. He wanted to be saved but the darkness was still trying to consume him in many ways. Sure, he sort of believed that there could be a case of friendship, but the only way was for Twilight to... So it wasn't really as easy as people made out to be. People thought it was just taught no jutsu when it really wasn't. The darkness was still trying to take him, and he was still trying to be like, what's the whole point? It doesn't really matter. There is no difference. Even if you try, even if you change this one person, doesn't mean it's going to change me. Okay, I am who I am, and it's not going to work out like that. So Twilight literally had to use most of her magic with the help of Starlight as well to actually bring back Galstein back from actually being taken over by Swall by the darkness. So what happens is that they finally were able, with the help of the Elements of Harmony and the help of the Old Pillars, with the Elements of Harmony as well with theirs, were able to actually save Galstein from the darkness. And what happens is that the Pony of Shadows was sent to a portal. Which portal? I bet you know which portal he's going to be sent to. It ain't going to be Tartarus. So, Equestria girls, 5 bitches. Anyways, nah, I'm just really kidding. So that's basically it though. So that's it when it comes to the actual... Oh, and by the way, at the very end of the episode, and especially because we did get to learn that Star Swirl had pretty much too much pride in his system. He had too much pride, knowing that with all his pride and all his build-up was the reason why he failed to actually rescue his best friend from the darkness, like a really, really good ally as well. And because of that, he realized that, friendship, can work in many ways, even though, well, not even though, but basically it can work as long as you don't betray people, as long as you believe in them without like casting them and banishing them for no reason, then you know what, everything will work out in the end. So I was actually glad, that problem actually resolved itself, and it was actually because of Twilight was the one that actually changed Star Swirl. So now Star Swirl is seeing a whole new world on what has become of Equestria of today. So he's like, well, I would and all spread all my teachings, but I think Twilight here is like my next past decade generations, whatever. So I think she will be the one to be in charge of that call. I mean, we'll still be around, but it will only be in case if we're ever needed or certain guidance, etc., etc. So this means that the Pillars could be canon to Season 8, which I think would be really cool to see the Pillars return in Season 8. I think that would be a wonderful idea, and this gets to prove that the Pillars will be actual characters in this show and not just going to be just for this one season, which I was really happy for, because I thought they were just going to be like sealed up in the book at the very end or just go back, but instead that wasn't really the case. Instead, they're here in the show today. So does this mean that we're actually going to see them more often in the show? Because that would be pretty cool. This will give me a very hype reason to watch, to actually be just incredibly excited now for the next season. And this is what it did. This finale got me really excited for the next season. And as we all know, Season 8, where that's going to start with, ooh, my girl's coming back. So I can't wait for that. So when it comes to this episode overall, like the pacing once again was very spot on. The action, the big secret reveals that I didn't think were that crazy, but they are. And then of course the very end on how everything was solved was very nicely done. And we did get some really cool action. We did get some pretty cool action sequences with the magic, defense, offense, etc. And then of course we had the very end where it was really nice to see both the elements of harmony of old and new combined to actually seal up like the darkness. That was actually really cool. So when it comes to this episode overall, and especially how important these legends are, and it was so great to see the comic characters come to life in this season, was a very nice touch as well. And the show did a really great job on building these characters up. Even though the other one, like I said, was the whole... Because it really fooled me, because I really thought these ponies were just going to be mentioned in like Ancient Tales, just in this one episode, whatever, just to give some fan service to the comic book lovers. But no, apparently we got ourselves an actual canon related material with all of the characters, and this is why the season was building them up so long. Well, mainly the second half of the season was building them up for the second half of the season, and it did a really fantastic job at that. And it kind of fooled me too, because I really thought we weren't going to see them at the season finale, but it turns out that wasn't the case at all. Especially Star Swirl. I'm like, we got those legends. I wasn't so sure about Star Swirl. Then it actually happened. So now I can see why they were building up these characters for the second half of Season 7. And it was fantastic. So overall, it was really nice to see more about how these characters were developed. It was very nice too on how these locations, all these different locations, even though some of them were the same locations, but it was cool nonetheless to finally get a full-fledged adventure outside from Equestria for like a season finale. So that was a very nice touch as well. So the adventure aspect was there, and I really loved that. Also, the characters when it comes to the pillars themselves, I really do like them a lot. I mean, not just Star Swirl is pretty awesome, but I would say, I would say pretty much all of them are like, very unique in their own powers. So, the pillars are actually pretty cool, and they're pretty, they're legends for a reason, and they actually do prove it. And they get along with the main 6 actually quite well, which is actually pretty amazing as well. So, yeah. So anyways, my other favorite one, I'm trying to think of who my other favorite was. Probably Flash Madness. Flash Madness was pretty badass. I like Flash Madness a lot. So yeah. So that's pretty much it. Yeah. Yeah. So overall, I give the second half of this season finale a 5 out of 5. So it gets a 5 out of 5. The way it wrapped things up was just super awesome. Not only that, but altogether, if I were to give it a score out of the entire season finale, it would be a 5 out of 5. It would be a 5 out of 5 altogether. Yeah, it would be a 5 out of 5 altogether. It will be a 5 out of 5 altogether for this season finale. Yeah, definitely a 5 out of 5 season finale. Definitely. Even though I said 4.5 for episode 25, 26, the way things wrapped up for the second half makes up for it a lot. So altogether, the season finale gets a 5 out of 5, aka a yo, pretty much. So that's it. I'm done. So yeah. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below of this season finale of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic season 7 finale. Well, it's been a long ride, my friends. It's been a long, crazy ride when it comes to the My Little Pony finale. But like they all say, all good things must come to an end. Until we meet again, season 8. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me for these live reactions and these reviews of the My Little Pony season 7. Thank you very much to the staff and crew for actually working on a very awesome season. And definitely, I'm going to say this season of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic is now my new #1 season of the series. It's my new top #1 season. #2 place now will go to season 5. So both season 7 and 5 are on top of being my favorite seasons. So season 7 nailed it out of the park compared to what season 6 has done. And I am so looking forward to on what season 8 is going to hold. And I'm really hoping for that. So cheers. Thank you all for watching and sticking with me once again. Don't forget, if you want to subscribe for not just for my pony content, but for everything else as well. I reviewed the movie, so you can check out the movie review I did. And then, finally, the second part 2 overview will be coming up sometime. Maybe not now because Halloween and stuff, but probably sometime like next month I will do it. So, yeah. Or possibly by the end of the year. So, yeah, there's that too. So, that's pretty much it. So, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe as always. Click the notification squad boys to get notifications of my videos. Also, don't forget to follow my social media plugins and my gamer tags as well. And that's it. Check out my other videos for all you video gamer fans. I'm getting more Let's Plays of Cuphead coming up quite soon. Also, I'm getting for you anime fans, stick around for my anime reviews I do every weekend. Not so much stuff, this year, sadly for fall, which is kind of sad, which is sad. Believe me, it is. So, only Ruby Volume 5, of course, is coming this weekend. And then, of course, not only that, but just usually One Piece and Dragon Ball Super. But don't worry, January 2018 is going to look pretty hype. Once we start 2018, though, anime is going to be so lit because we're going to get so much great content coming up in January. So I'm really excited for that. But until then, like I said, just subscribe and check all my other videos out for anything. So anyways, that's it. Peace, soul, love, chicken grease, and the sky's the limit. And manga fans, keep supporting much really watch, and bronies, bro hoof and brony on. Until we meet again, see you all next year for season 8. Bye bye.